everyone, I'm Maria da Conceicao, and I was born in a small village in Portugal 42 years ago. I am the daughter of a single mother, and when I was 2 years old, my mother was jobless, and she was going through a very tough time in her life. This is when she met a total stranger, a woman called Christina, and she shared with Christina her struggles. Christina didn't hesitate to help my mother. She told my mom, why don't you go to Lisbon, to the city, find a job, be independent, and I will take care of Maria until you come back. My mom left to the city, and she never came back. The social services in my village, when they heard that a 2-year-old child had been abandoned and was living with Christina, all they tried to do was to take me away from her. Do you know why? Because when they went and see Christina, all they could see was a poor refugee woman from Angola living in Portugal, a widow, mother of 6 children, and she was a cleaner. The social services, they thought Christina could not give me a good future. At the age of 9, unfortunately, Christina had a sudden heart attack. So Christina's motto used to be, who feeds 6, feeds 7. So I became the 7th child of Christina. Unfortunately, when I was 9 years old, Christina had a sudden heart attack and she passed away. At the age of 12, I stopped going to school. And pretty much from that time onwards, I was told that the only thing I could expect to achieve in life was being a cleaner. At the age of 18, I left Portugal, mainly for 2 reasons. First, I didn't like how people in a village, they saw me. All they could see was that, look at Maria, this poor orphan who is a cleaner with a bad past. And I didn't want people to see me that way. So I left Portugal in searching better opportunities. And I went to Italy, Switzerland, and England. I learned how to speak French. And when I moved to these countries, I thought, if the only thing I'm going to do in my life is being a cleaner, I am not just going to be a cleaner. I am going to be the best cleaner the world has seen. I'm going to be Ronaldo of the cleaning world. So I went to Switzerland, England, I learned French, I learned English. And 8 years later, I had the opportunity to have a job interview with Emirates Airlines. When I Googled about the job interview, I realized how competitive it was. So I just thought, if I'm to pass this job interview, I cannot go to this job interview as I'm a candidate. I'm going to go to this job interview as I am already a flight attendant waiting for my passengers to board on the aeroplane. I went to a shop. I bought a uniform that looked 100% like the uniform of Emirates Airlines. I went for the job interview, 100 candidates, 2 jobs available, and I got the job. I felt like I had won the lottery, and I moved to Dubai in 2003. I traveled all around the world to countries that I didn't even know existed. I was staying in 5-star hotels. Life, it was great. 1.5 years later, Emirates asked me to do a flight to Bangladesh, one of the poorest countries in the world. And when I got to Bangladesh, I couldn't believe that 4.5 hours away from where I lived, people, they could live in such a poverty. They didn't even have a birth certificate. where the life of a child is defined on the day that he or she is born. If he's born a boy, he probably will go to school and will do up to grade 4, and then he might have to work to help the family. But if you are a girl, your future will be determined by the color of your skin in the slums. If you are born light skin, you will be decided then when you are 11 or 12, you have to get married with someone in a village. But if you are born dark skin, that is considered, oh my God, you're so horrible. No one in the village will want to get married with you, and no much jobs will be available. I could not understand why people, they live like that. So all I could see when I looked at these people in the slums, I could only see potential. And I started to dream. I started to have these visions of these children one day traveling just like me all around the world, working in international companies, going to university. So I decided the only way to achieve that was by giving them an education. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that in the slums of Dhaka, these students, they are not accepted by the local schools just because of the caste system. So I decided to open my own school. Now, you remember, I only went to school up to grade 12, correct? So I just thought, you know, all I need to do is to ask for help. So I came to Dubai, and I asked for people for help. Help me setting up a school, teach me how to run the school A to Z, so I can empower these children. 3 years later, I had 600 children going to school. We had a daycare center, a preschool, a primary school, a secondary school. We had a computer center. We had a first aid center. We had the kids, they were going to extracurricular activities. It was absolutely amazing. 3 years later, something terrible, terrible, terrible happened. Recession came. And all of a sudden, I started to lose all my sponsors. One by one, they were gone. See, the crisis reached globally, and people, they started to lose their jobs. The companies, they were not going bankrupted. And me, I lost my sponsors. So I was really desperate at the time. And I went to Google, and I Googled it. What is the quickest way to raise funds so these kids, they will not go, you know, so I can take them out of poverty, so they are not forced to get married? And Google said, if you want to raise money, you have to know someone really famous, someone like Angelina Jolie or Ronaldo, and they will be your ambassadors, they will organize the gala, and you'll get the money. I sent a message to everyone famous in Portugal, in Dubai, in USA. Then Google said the other option would be to go on a very famous TV program, such as Oprah, Ellen. So I sent a letter to all the TV programs in Portugal, Dubai, USA. And then I came across a very interesting article. A group from England was going to the North Pole. They had already raised £1 million, and they were hoping if they reached the North Pole, they were going to raise £2 million. And I just thought, if this is what I have to do to secure the future of these children, I have no idea where the North Pole is, what is it entitled, or what I have to do, but I'm going to get there. I signed up for the first expedition available, which was 4 months later. I contacted a personal trainer, and I asked him, did you watch Kung Fu Panda? Me, Panda, in 4 months' time, I need to reach the North Pole so I can raise 2 million pounds. Ismael thought I was absolutely crazy, but he looked at me and he believed it that I could. I started training. 4 months later, I reached the North Pole, and I became the first Portuguese woman to reach North Pole. I came back to Dubai. There was no money. So what did I do? Went back to Google. Google, please tell me what else can I do so I can raise the funds needed. And Google said, Maria Conceicao, did you know the first Jordanian man who climbed Everest, he raised $2 million. Wouldn't you climb Everest to raise $2 million? So I kept researching on the internet, and I couldn't believe that only 2 Portuguese men in the entire Portugal had climbed Everest, and no Portuguese woman. So I decided to raise the $2 million to keep the children in school, to prevent them going back to the streets. I was going to climb Everest. I sent email to many trainers, and I asked them to transform me into a climber. Many people, they looked at me, and all they saw was a chicken or beef, or what they used to call at the time trolley dolly. And they thought I had no climbing experience, would be absolutely impossible to make it to the top of Everest. I kept searching, and I found an Indian gentleman, Satya Bratadam, who had 35 years of experience. When he read my email, he thought, dream come true. Because Satya had a dream. His dream was to find the most incapable person in the whole world, either female or male, and train him or her and put her at the top of Everest. So we started the journey of training together. Satya told me, I'm going to need 2 years to transform you into a climber. I told him, Satya, I do not have 2 years, because in the slums of Dhaka, every day I have to put food on the table, and I have to put a roof over the heads of these children. We worked really hard for 1 year. I went to the climbing school. I trained 6 hours a day. And 1 year later, I still didn't have the funds for the expedition. No one could believe, no one wanted to borrow me the money so I could go on the expedition. Because all they saw, they used to say, Maria, if we give you the money to climb Everest and you don't make it, we lost the money. The day before I departed for Nepal, I met Yogesh. And I told him, Yogesh, failure is an option that I do not have. I went to Everest. 6 weeks later, I became the first and only Portuguese woman to summit Everest. All I could think was everything I was going to do when I came back. I was thinking I was going to have so much media exposure. I was going to have a red carpet. I was going to be all over the news. And I started to think all the things I was going to do with that $2 million. I arrived in Dubai, and guess what? Nothing. After all, it seems like becoming the first Portuguese woman to climb Everest is not a big deal after all. It was extremely hard for me to accept that. Meanwhile, the board of directors, they look at the situation of the project and decided to shut down the project. And all the children, they went back to the streets. The families lost faith on me. The children, some of the boys started to work. Some of the girls, they got forced to get married. and some they left to their villages. And someone told me, Maria, if you really want to help these children, you have to do something that is so big that the whole world knows about you, and they cannot ignore you. And then Anne, she told me, Maria, when you thought about climbing Everest and becoming the first Portuguese woman to do it so, you were thinking too small. You have to go above and beyond. I went back to Google, and I told Google, give me something that is so big that no one can ignore me. So since 2014 up to 2017, every year, I transform myself. I have broken 8 Guinness World Records in running full marathons around the 7 continents in the shortest time possible, ultramarathons, full Ironmans. I became the first Portuguese woman to go to the South Pole. I climbed a lot of mountains, and I even attempted to swim the English Channel from England to France without knowing how to swim. I failed. People often ask me, after they meet me, what was the hardest challenge you have ever done? Was it Everest? Was the breaking to world records? Was going to the South Pole? Was it the swimming the English Channel? What was it? And they get really surprised when I tell them the hardest challenge I have done in my life was running this charity organization. People, they have this idea that working in a slums or doing charity work or social projects is a fairy tale. Let me tell you, it's really tough work. Definitely not for the faint of heart. There are 100 times more challenges, obstacles, disappointments than there are achievements. But every day you have to get up, roll up the sleeves, and with the little resources you have to do the best you can. "33 years later, Cristina is a big legend in Portugal. Why? Not because she was a poor Portuguese woman from Angola, a widow, a mother of 6 children. Not because she was kind and generous. Because Cristina, she went above and beyond than any normal person would have done. I often tell my children, every day actually, I tell my children, if you really want a life outside of the slums, you not only have to fight the culture and the society you are born, you have to go as well above and beyond. You have to be 10 times better than any student that graduates from a university. You have to be 100% better. And I see that. But most people, when they meet my children, they only see where they come from. So I keep putting fire inside of my kids. And people, they only see, oh, they're from the slums, they cannot achieve anything in life. And I go back and I put a lot of fire on them. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my story. I hope it has inspired you to go above and beyond. And I had a conversation with my students yesterday, and I told them, life is just like our building, 21 floors. You have to start at the ground, and then you have to climb to the first floor, second floor, third floor, and when you reach to the 21st floor, you are not going to stay there. You're going to build Burj Khalifa and make your way up to the summit of Burj Khalifa. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is my story.